Okay, boys and girls, today's lesson is comparing fractions. We're going to continue our comparing fractions, and we will be working on page 118 in your handout. So find page 118. You'll need a highlighter and, of course, your pencil. Make sure your name is on, well, you should have your name on the front of your packet. So let's start. Number 15. Which symbol completes the following statement? Here are your answer choices: equal, not equal, or not equivalent, less than, greater than. 5/8 is compared to 9/10. So I'm going to come over here on my working paper, and I'm going to rewrite 5/8, and I want to rewrite 9/10, and I want you to use your little checklist. So here, one of the strategies is we could simplify our fractions. 5 and 8, I cannot divide 5 by anything other than 1 and 5, and 8, I cannot divide either one of these by the same numerator because 5 is a prime number. 9 and 10 do not share any common factors, so I cannot reduce this, so I cannot simplify either one of these fractions. Do we have the same denominator? No, we do not. Do we have the same numerator? No, we do not. 1 unit fraction away from a whole. Well, this is 1 unit fraction away from a whole, so it's close to 1. But this is not. So let's compare each fraction to 1/2. That's our new strategy. Let's compare to 1/2. So I'm going to create a number line, and over here we're going to label this 0, and this is 1/2. So what would the benchmark fraction be right here in the middle? That would be 1/2. So here's our benchmark number line. So let's see, 5/8. If I look at my denominator, it's 8, which means this needs to be 8 equal parts. So if I label this, this would be 0/8. This would be equivalent to 1/2, which is 8/8. So what is half of 8/8? Because it's an even denominator, that's pretty easy. Half of 8 is 4. So 4/8 is equivalent to 1/2. Excuse me. I'm going to create an equal number line right underneath. It has to be the same length, excuse me. And again, this is 0. This would be 1/2. Right in the middle would be 1/2. Now let's look at our denominator. It's tenths. So we would label this as 0/10. And 1/2, what fraction is equivalent to 1/2? 10/10. And again, because it's an even number, we can easily divide that in half. What is half of 10? 5. So 5/10 is equivalent to 1/2. Alright, so let's see. On our number line, we know that 0/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. So 5/8 would be about right here, right after 4/8. And 9/10, if this is 5/10, then we would need to go 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10. 9/10 is closer to 1/2. So we can say that 5/8 is closer to 1/2 and 9/10 is closer to 1/2. Therefore, 5/8 is less than 9/10. So that is using our benchmark fraction strategy. So our answer choice would be, they're not equal. There is no relationship. They are, let's see, here it is, C. So your answer will be C. All right, let's see about number 17. Let's look at number 17. It's Rob's paper route is 8/10 mile long. Lynn's route is 3/4 of a mile long. What is true about 8/10 and 3/4? So again, we have to make sure we're reading, and I notice they flip some of the fractions here, which means the symbols flip, so we have to be very careful there and pay attention to what's listed first and last and the symbol. So let's go through our list. Can I simplify any of these fractions? I can simplify 8/10 because they're both even, so I can divide them both by 2. Well, I'm going to try that strategy. I'm going to see if I can make this an easier fraction to work with. Because if I look, this is a unit fraction, 1 unit fraction away from a whole, and this is 2 unit fractions away from a whole. But tenths are a lot smaller sizes than fourths. So I'm not sure if the number line strategy will work. So let's see if we can simplify 8/10. So I'm going to write down for question number 17, we're going to compare, let's simplify 8/10 first. So I can divide 8/10 by 2 because they're both even, and that would give me 4. Oh, look at that, boys and girls. What do you notice about this kind of fraction right here? We just turned it into a 1 unit fraction away from a whole, and we're comparing that now because it's equivalent. These two are equivalent. This is just a different way to represent it. So now we can compare 4/5, which is really 8/10, right, to, what's our other fraction, 3/4. Awesome. So what strategy can we use now? We can use 1 unit fraction away from a whole. The bigger number or denominator is closer to a whole because it's a smaller piece. So this is our bigger denominator, which makes it greater because it's closer to 1 whole on our number line. So we can say that 8/10 is greater than 3/4. Awesome. And we did that by simplifying this and changing it to a easier fraction to work with. Remember, they're still equivalent, just kind of regrouped it, kind of like when we borrow or we regroup when we subtract. So we still have the same value, just different sizes. Okay, so let's look at our answer choices. We said that 8/10 is greater than 3/4. This says nope. What makes this one true? We would have to change that to a less than sign. This says 8/10 is less than 3/4, so that is not true. We would have to change that to a greater than sign. C, 8/10 is greater than 3/4, that is true. And 8/10 is equal to 3/4, that is not true. It would have to be a greater than symbol. So we justified all our answer choices and why this one is correct. All right, we're going to do one more, and then you will be working in groups using your strategy card and solving those last 3 questions. Now this one actually tells me it's a multi-step question. So I'm going to have to do something before I can answer the question. Sandra is making crafts from leftover ribbons. She needs a ribbon longer than 3/4. What is that word, what does that term mean, longer than? If we were to put it in symbols like less than, equal, or greater, what symbol do you think that would be? She needs a fraction that is greater than 2/3 to make her bow. Which length of ribbon could she use for her bow? So if you look at your answer choices, we have fractions. And we know she needs one of these leftover ribbons, but it has to be greater than 2/3. So what do we need to do with each of our answer choices? We're going to have to compare it to 2/3. Now, I notice this is a unit fraction away from a whole, and This is also a unit fraction away from a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and write 2/3 next to each of these. And let's see what we can do to solve this question. Can we simplify? Oh, let's start here. Well, they're both 1 unit away from a whole. So let's look at our checklist. 1 unit fraction away from a whole. The bigger number is closer to a whole. So we could say that 3/4 is greater than 2/3. Hey. So that's what she needs. She needs a ribbon that is greater than 2/3. But let's verify our other answer choices. All right, 2/6. Aha! I can simplify 2/6 because they're both even numbers, and I can divide both of them by 2. So if I divide 2 by 2, what do I get, boys and girls? I get a 1. If I divide 6 by 2, what do we get, boys and girls? We get 3. So now, look at this, boys and girls. What did we just create? We created an equivalent fraction to 2/6, and now I have 1/3 compared to 2/3. So let's see, what strategy can we now use? Same denominator, so they're the same size, but we want more parts. So now we can see that 1/3 is less than 2/3. So we prove that this is not true. That is not enough ribbon. This next one here, 1/5 of a yard compared to 2/3 of a yard. Now when I think of 1/5, I think of a number line. There's my 0, there's my whole, there's my 1/2. What would 1/5 be? Would it be closer to 0 since it's a unit fraction? Yes, it would be closer to 0. If I were to cut this into 5 equal pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's closer to 0. And 2/3 is 1 unit fraction away from a whole. So I can see that 1/5 is going to be less than 2/3, boys and girls. Using that reasonableness, mental math sometimes helps. Now this last one here is 4/7 compared to 2/3. I know that I can change 2/3 so that it has the same numerator. How can I change 2/3 so that it has a numerator of 4? Because I see a relationship here. I can multiply my numerator and my denominator by what whole fraction to create an equivalent fraction? 2 times what equals 4? 2. 3 times 2 equals what? 6. Cha-ching. There you go, boys and girls. What do we have now? We have 4/6, which is a equivalent fraction to 2/3. So now if I compare these two, what strategy can we now use? We have the same numerator. I want the bigger parts. So which one of these is bigger? 1/7 or 1/6? This one is greater. You have less people to share. So 4/7 is less than 2/3. Alright, I used equivalent fractions. I used simplifying. We created some new fractions that made it easier to compare by making the same denominator, same numerator. We used our 1 fraction away strategies. We compared them to 1/2 on a number line if it was closer to 0 to 1 whole. So boys and girls, your job now is in your table groups. You're going to complete number 16, number 18, and number 20 with your table groups. When you and your group are finished with that, let me check it for you, see how you're doing, and then I'm going to ask you to find page 116. It's at the top page, it's the front of your packet, and you will need to complete And you have visuals here, so use your visuals and your number lines to help you answer 15, 16, 17, and 18. This will be for a grade. If you miss 2 questions, I will give it back to you to correct and give you one more opportunity to correct it. And then this will be going in the grade book. So enjoy your fractions, use your strategies, use your checklist, and good luck. You can do this.